Hey everyone, I'm Armor Gaming, welcome back to my channel, and welcome to Monster Legends. Up for analysis today is Brutalizer. He is the newest and latest dark mythic monster in the game. So, this monster was a gravedigger in Nishan's army. He had orders to take all the riches the dead had on them and hand them to the general before the burial. Wow, that's rough. However, one day he saw an amber locket that caught his eye, so he kept it for himself. When General Nishan found out, he confronted and humiliated him in such a way that the gravedigger refused to hand him the locket. He lost control and transformed into what he is now, Brutalizer, a massive beast filled with nothing but fury. Ooh, General Nishan, better be careful. General Nishan, if you haven't seen the monster, he is tiny, he is scrawny. Brutalizer is scary and menacing. Brutalizer is a dark tank with taunt and high damage skills, so we have our dark tank monster added to the mix. He can apply taunt and skill mirror to himself, very nice, similar to Armor Claw, or double damage and regen. I think Armor Claw does a heal and a damage boost. In another one of his skills, he can increase his total life by 50% and gain damage mirror. Again, similar to Armor Claw. Brutalizer has an evolving trait. At rank 0 he has taunt, at rank 1 he gains tough, 35% of the times, or is it 30%, he won't get hit with negative effects. At rank 3 he gets a status caster, gaining a 50% damage mirror at the start of the battle. I mean, that's awesome, to be completely honest. To any damage your giant tanky monster takes, it just reflect 50% of the damage output. That's pretty cool. So, with that said, we don't have a fancy picture or anything, so we'll jump right into the analysis. This monster boasts a life stat of 62,733. This is officially the tankiest monster in the game. Abysmus and Armor Claw used to claim the top spot with a life stat of 62,732. So Brutalizer beats him by just 1 HP. Isn't that funny? So sorry Armor Claw and Abysmus, you are no longer the tankiest. We now have Brutalizer. And let's see what else. This monster has a power stat of 5896. This is actually the second highest power stat in the game. Currently, the strongest power stat belongs to Arumel, one of the OG mythic monsters, with a power stat of 5948. After that, we have Brutalizer, Unspeakable, Cawthor, Nor, and Nightingale. They all have 5896. So, he's super tanky. He's the tankiest, and he also has one of the highest power stats in the game. Now, normally when a monster is tanky and a high power stat, they suffer in their speed. This monster is officially the slowest monster, tied with Cawthor with a speed stat of 4488. So amazing life stats, amazing power stats, however the lowest speed stat. But does that matter? I would argue no, because he starts the game off with taunt, so it's not like you even need to apply taunt. He already starts the game off with taunt. He has tough, so he's not getting hit with negative effects 35% of the time or 30% of the time, whatever it is. And at rank 3, if you manage to get this monster to rank 3, you're reflecting 50% of the damage you receive. So I'm fine with him having a slow speed stat. I actually don't even want him to go first. And actually, to make him even more tankier, for his relics, he doesn't just hold one armor, he can hold the double armor relic, which is, it's not usual that we see monsters holding two of the same relic. So this is definitely making him claim the king of like tanks, at least for right now. But let's go through all of his skills. Let's examine them all. So, tier 1, we have Thornguard. Oh, really quickly, books, he's villains, undead, and evil legions. And so, yeah, going back to tier 1 skills, we have Thornguard, increases max life by 50%, applies damage mirror to itself. Super useful in any situation where you don't have this monster at rank 3, or even once you lost your status caster, to be able to reapply damage mirror and to increase your max life. You know, give this monster life regen or something. That just even helps that his max life is increased. We have Muscle Expansion, applies double damage and life regen. Look, he can give himself a double life. Now, what I will say is, when we have a tank monster, I'm not the biggest fan of utilizing a buffer skill. Like, yeah, he could waste one turn giving himself double damage and life regen, but it's so easy for the enemy to just, hey, let me take that away from you. You know what I mean? Like, hey, let me take away your double damage and your life regen with the positive effect removal. So I'm not the biggest fan of it. The only way for it to really work, in my opinion, is if you would be able to do muscle expansion and then have an ally that can turn transfer immediately. Say you have a warmaster Ragnarök that can turn transfer, and then you have that double damage, take advantage of the life regen, and then you can dish out damage. But speaking of which, let's see if he can even dish out a lot of damage. So moving on, we have Brutal Warning, deals heavy special damage to when an enemy applies damage boots to itself. Moving on to tier 2, we have Brutal Warning, deals heavy special damage to when an enemy applies damage boost, 45 damage on a 1-turn cooldown, and essentially you attack and you give yourself a boost, which sets up for the next attack. I like skills like this, however, I don't think I like it so much on a tank. Now, yes, he does have a high power, but I really feel like he should focus more on the tanking. So that actually brings us to the next skill. Full Counter. Applies Taunt and gives himself Skill Mirror. Now, Skill Mirror is my favorite thing. My favorite thing, absolute favorite thing on a taunt monster, because when a taunt monster has Skill Mirror, any attack that they receive, they will reflect the skill. They don't reflect the damage. This is different than the self-damage mirror. So hypothetically, if you have this monster at rank 3, you have that self-damage mirror. If you go and apply Full Counter, now you have Skill Mirror and Damage Mirror. So let's say you get hit with 100k damage. Whatever skill dealt 100k damage, you're going to reflect that very skill, and it might deal more damage depending on your runes you have and your power. And the enemy will also lose 50k HP because of the 50 damage mirror. So it's important to understand this distinction. Damage mirror reflects the damage you receive. In this case, it's a 50% damage mirror, so you reflect half of the damage you receive. And skill mirror literally reflects the exact skill that was used against you. So the other cool thing about this is that you apply taunt to yourself. So in any situation, maybe you got trade disabled, we're starting to see more mythic monsters that can trade disable, you can reapply the taunt, and then you have that skill mirror. So I'm a huge fan of Full Counter. And moving on to tier 3, now we're seeing some strong brute skills right here. Double Smash deals massive dark damage to one enemy monster. 65 damage on a 1-turn cooldown. That is very, very, very powerful. And we also have Merciless Cyclone, deals heavy dark damage. Here we have a 45 damage AoE skill. Nice. And it also applies Nightmares on top of that. But really, that 45 damage AoE, I don't know how many other mythic monsters we've seen with a 45 damage AoE. If you guys can list them in the comments below, because that off the top of my head I do not know, but I'm pretty sure I haven't seen 45 damage on an AoE skill. So even though this monster is slow, if you can get him rank up, I think you can still make the argument to run him with like 2 speed and a strength, or 1 speed and a strength. I mean, compared to mythic monsters, yeah, you're the slowest, but compared to legendary monsters, you will have a speed advantage. So if you have Brutalizer and you're taking on legendary monsters, there's nothing wrong with running him to go first with like single speed and strength, and you can just OTK, right? If you're taking on legendary monsters, Double Smash, Merciless Cyclone. You're taking on Megaton monsters with Merciless Cyclone. Maybe not Dunraw because it's a dark monster, so you don't have that. You have that elemental disadvantage. But if it's a Mephisto, if it's a Clipium, I'm pretty sure you can OTK with Merciless Cyclone running like 2 strength and a speed, or maybe even 1. It really depends on the level of your rune. So that he definitely is quite formidable in his skills. Against mythic monsters, it's really gonna depend. His ultimate, by the way, Brutal Storm, deals massive dark damage to all enemies, a 65 damage AoE, and applies a 3-turn death countdown. The 3-turn death countdown I'm not really impressed with. Like, that can easily be cleansed. That also focuses on you having to stall out for 3 turns. I'm not a fan of that. I'm more impressed with the massive dark damage. So the way I can see this monster being ruined is there's a variety of ways, and it really is just because there's legendary and mythic monsters involved. You can run this monster as a tank, so give him a life rune, give him a strength, give him a speed. Okay, that's one way to run him. That way you have that life to take advantage of his high tankiness. You have that strength to take advantage of still being able to run Double Smash, being able to run Merciless Cyclone, and then you have the speed so that he's not too slow. You could run him like I already alluded to, give him 2 speed and a strength, give him 1 speed and 2 strength, and you can use him to take out monsters. Potentially legendaries, that's probably more within your realm, where you can just Double Smash and Merciless Cyclone wherever you need to. If you've ever seen, if you've ever fought a team that has like 2 dodge area monsters and an Armor Claw, and they purposely put Armor Claw as a tank, that's another way to run this monster. So 2 life, or maybe even 3 life. Since he's super slow, you kind of just have him stand there and tank attacks. And then your 2 dodge area monsters, maybe it's a Wicca that can remove negative effects. So even if you get hit with a dot, you can be removing negative effects. If it's Wormlad, Wormlad can restore the dream. Wormlad could also be your attacker. So run your dodge area monsters as attackers. Maybe you have Halguden, and then you synergize with the fact that this monster can do nightmares, and Halguden can run Initiation Sword. So the cool thing about mythic tanks is there are so many different combos you can do with them right now. You can run 2 tanks and a dodge area monster and see what becomes of that. So definitely the skills I would recommend, and it's hard to recommend a skill set because you're always going to be shifting it depending on the situation. If you're primarily focusing on a tank build, I would say Full Counter is a must. I would say Thornguard is a must for that maximum life increase and reapplying that damage mirror. Or if you don't have this monster at rank, I'm assuming, when it says applies damage mirror, I'm assuming, I don't know if that's a 50% or 100%. But Thornguard and Full Counter are must if you're running this monster as a pure tank. Even if you're not running this monster as a tank and more of an attacker, full counter for sure. I think Thorn Guard you might be able to do without. Do you need muscle expansion? I would argue not really. Even if this monster is more of an attacker, I'd say you don't need that double damage. But everything else, like, I would run Merciless Cyclone for more of an attacker, Brutalizer, double smash for sure. Full counter, I said, is a must regardless. So then that just leaves one more skill, and you can pretty much run whatever you want. Again, muscle expansion is probably the one I'm least impressed with. You might be running one of the default skills just so you have a 0 cooldown skill. Like, for example, in Armor Claw, I always run, remember to subscribe, 0 cooldown, 0 stamina. Because otherwise, you are susceptible to cooldown activation. If you just look at the skill sets really fast, cooldown activation, you're in trouble. Not for too long, only for one turn, because then you're going to be able to double smash and potentially kill an enemy monster. Overall, I like the monster, but until I really get a chance to play with him, then I can really determine how much I like him and how he compares to the other tanks. Because at least right now, I feel like the other tanks offer a little bit more, right? You have Erza, who's an amazing tank. You have Unspeakable. You have Armor Claw especially. So it's going to be interesting. I want to hear your guys' thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. What do you guys think about Brutalizer? Thank you very much, and remember to subscribe.